against God if they choose to question it. And I think this is a very bad disposition. That's all. Well, some of them have certain things like that, but yes, you're right. No, religion is vast. I go after the established religions, the ones that have the biggest clout, the biggest political control, the ones that have been around the longest, that have obviously proven that they are outdated. They have kernels of truth, but the practice is really pushed away from benefiting humanity.
First of all, mate.
Right.
First of all, I want to acknowledge him for putting this work out there, because nobody else is doing this work. That is absolutely amazing. Very amazing. And the great thing is, he's not saying it's perfect. He's saying it needs work, but it's a start of an idea, and we need this change right now in this society. In this planet, we need this change. We do. We need this change, right? We need this change. One thing that this movie prescribes to, which will make a big difference, and I think it doesn't say it openly, is that all this new idea, this new world, is going to come from a deeper part of us than we're already seeing at the moment. And the deeper part of us is beyond the mind, beyond the ego. When people come from the core, where all the answers are, we don't need to have philosophies. We don't need to have religions. In the core, we are all connected. We all know exactly what to do. But it's because we're coming from the mind and the ego, which is in this domination control sort of light, where we're coming from the darkness to the light, we're now coming back into our light. And through this light, we will, this is part of it. This is so part of it, mate. Sure. I really acknowledge you. This is amazing to see this. And absolutely amazing.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
And the word I use to define that, is that eternal oneness, that this interconnectivity, this symbiotic relationship that exists on so many profound levels. And that's the way I would describe it. Thank you.
All right, I want to keep comments to a minimum, really, because we've got a lot of questions, I'm sure. So there's two here, and then I'm going to pass it back here afterwards.
Hello. Firstly, good video. Very powerful. I was want to add Alex Jones as well. I know he slated you on the interview that he gave you. I don't 100% follow either of you. Both of you are good. But yeah, I did think he was a bit harsh. But anyway,
right.
Basically, come to the practicality of your of Venus Project and of your movie. Basically, the transition between getting to obviously idolize perfection. And that transition, obviously a lot of people that, basically freeloaders of our life that run on society off living in council hats with lots of kids, if they don't see it, and if they see obviously that, we're taking down the leaders, we're basically, fucking the system, so to speak, then, surely they're just going to see it as a free ride just to go and, run right and loot and that, because they're not going to see the enlightenment. They're not going to give a damn about what we think. As soon as we're taking down the thing and actually showing that we're doing it, there's going to be, a lot of trouble, and there's going to be a lot of trouble, the next 4 years anyway, because, there's a lot of stuff happening within the next 4 years. But, I know you've got the Zeitgeist movement. Who do you, are you saying yourself that you want to be the person to take us into the light, to guide us through?
No,
or who would you say, and how would you say the practicality of getting to that stage?
I want everyone to be their own leader, to understand with a core, basically the Zeitgeist movement is a grassroots concept that is attempting to create a core philosophical perspective, so to speak. People that understand these near empirical truths, simplistic truths of the fact that we're all connected, the truths of the fact that if there's a homeless person on the street, I am not safe. My integrity is only as good as the relationship of how well I take care of my environment, my planet, and the people around me. So when people understand this, when you say, well, I live, I have a lot of money, and I walk down the street, and they have, I have my job, and they think they have a good life, but they're always looking out over their shoulder because of crime, because of all the aberrant creations that happen because of this system. So I think that's just one point. I think there are many, many philosophical, so to speak, points that people will realize and understand, and they're so empirical once you realize the system. And for example, like someone working as a teller in a grocery store, horrible that is, a waste of life for someone to stand there and waste their time when it could be automated like that. To think that they should sit there like people on a subway line and making food. These are the human brain has so much potential. Humans are the life is sucked out of them by the system because you have to have money to survive, and you have to have labor for money. So this is an outdated notion at this point. They keep making new jobs because they don't know what else to do. So my point is that there's these underlying elements, there's many of them, that I will communicate as the site develops, that I want everyone in all countries, borderless, religionless, to say, well, wait a minute, this makes sense because we are all susceptible to this same thing. And then realize the corruption that's happening. And as far as the establishment, as far as who moves in to do something, it's going to be a collective type of awareness. It's going to be, I can't tell you, because I don't know how exactly.
A lot of people are going to look to a leader, and they're going to want someone to guide them
Well,
through.
there will be that tendency, but I think once it happens, this is why I want to have this dispersion of people in all the countries that are advocating the movement. March 15th will be Zeitgeist Day, and I'm going to have it worldwide. And I'm going to do my best to have it, there'll be probably like webcasts for it, but I want to make sure that there's independent action happening with this general philosophy. It can even be different ideas, because I want people to fucking think. Because they're not thinking in this structure to the extent of what it really advocates true change. But one more thing to answer your element about thinking that the new system is going to be another establishment. And that is a big fear. I get this a lot. They say, any new power structure is just going to be another power structure, and it's just going to exploit. But I think this is something that, because of the monetary system, can be grown out of once the monetary system is removed, and people understand that the more they give, the more they get. The more I give to somebody, as opposed to taking, because that's all our system does, you just take, so everyone else takes from everybody else. And you get this mentality where everyone's rewarded for being a selfish prick. And that's what the whole system is. And you got rich people that think they're successful because they have a lot of money, when in fact, most of them, like Warren Buffett, one of the richest men alive, he has contributed nothing to society. He gambled his way into financial independence. And this is one of those things that would be looked upon as like, why? What is this guy doing? This will be criminal, so to speak. You want criminal because there'll be no such thing, but it'll be like abhorrent, be like, what the hell? Why? So the more you give in this system, the more everyone else gives. The more you want to take and be selfish, more everyone else is going to take from you. So if that is the train of thought, that consciousness shift, the awakening of consciousness, the revolution of consciousness that Krishnamurti talks about, that's what I advocate, and I think that will have a great effect on this fear we have of trying to, not allowing people to have any type of control. So I zoom.
Can I just suggest, I'm really interested in how you're going to promote the movement. It's clear that we need a creative uprising at a grassroots level to actually implement the change in consciousness.
Right.
And I'd also like to ask if you are planning to make another film. I'd also like to suggest that on the 15th of March, we chalk zeitgeistmovement.com all over the walls and pavements of our respected cities, sure, just to raise awareness.
Yes, that's a very good idea. I want people to call into radio stations, television stations. I want there to be, it's just a public awareness campaign, not for Zeitgeist, or the Venus Project, but for this advocation of a different worldview towards humanity and each other. That's really what it is. I'm not trying to be a leader of anything. I don't want to be a leader of anything because I want to live. If I'm seen as a leader of something and things get big, I'm dead. And I personally don't want to die, even though I don't really care in a lot of ways. I'm going to be dead soon enough. So if I can take it out for a good cause, well, that's good for me, I suppose. But nevertheless, I'm dead serious, though, because leaders are taken out, and there's a psychological ramification when they are. So we need a leaderless type of thing. Everyone needs to become the leader, just as Krishnamurti said. You need to understand what the angle is, believe it, and know what's true and what isn't, what you agree with, what you don't, and advocate this to everyone you know. And that's what's going to happen. It's not going to be leaders anymore.
It's a network, it's not like that.
Yes.
So can I add, when you've got everyone as the leader, and when we are at that stage, who do you then say has control to say that, we all live like this, we all...
At a certain point,
because I mean, yeah. I know what Alex Jones says on your interview to him about, how the elite, there'll still be elitists saying how others will have to live. How will you make that benchmark?
Because
how will you make that?
This isn't subjective. This isn't subjective. The most difficult thing to realize about this project is that you have to look at this entire system as its relationship to the planet. So the carrying capacity of the Earth and all the attributes on it come into relevance. It almost becomes self-evident after a certain point. First thing I will say is that a lot of the shit that we have, the materialistic stuff, has been forced into our culture. I would say 90% of all the technology we have is junk. It's garbage. the fact that we duplicate things like crazy, rather than making like one cell phone that lasts, 50 years, which we could do, because the market system refuses to do it, because in order to keep market share, you have to make shit out of bad material.